so interesting to be able to dive into a more nature driven way of seeing the world and listening to these animals in a really dynamic way. Um, I thought the variety of the people that they're interviewing was pretty incredible. Even seeing Temple Grandin, who is a personal hero of mine, um, and bringing awareness to showing that there are so many ways to see and experience the world, and that nature has its own language. Just because it's not a spoken language doesn't mean that it's not as valid. And it just takes the time and I would say, the respect of nature and of creatures to learn how they communicate, and they interact.
This is broken down into four different subsubjects: communication, tradition, feminine, vision. This is about communication, the unspoken yet understanding of a language between not two people, but the person and animal. I love this jumbled up opening where they have these group of individuals slowly stacking and speaking on top of one another in multiple languages at that. This highlights the relationship that we have with horses, the type of care that 180s between the way that we treat and go about horses on a farm versus how we treat horses at the racetrack, diving into the abuse that ensues and takes place, down to the proper care and interactions it takes to build a relationship with this animal. The title takes a nod to the face coverings used in the realms of the horses. This tactic is used in horse racing to get them to focus and not be overwhelmed. They make this statement as to how far we go to break the animal down, but to also dive deeper than this and kind of make the statement to choose and say that these acts are unnecessary in order to build a true relationship with a horse. Utilizing body language and building your communication skills, and kind of showing that violence is not an enjoyment sort of approach that we should take, and that this creates species empathy, and showing us how we as humans can also relate to animals as well.
Respectful and almost poetic nature of the way that it was presented and the way that the main man spoke about his journey, his experiences. Um, I really liked how it took this approach of respecting the animals' nature, respecting the animals wild. And it's not about like breaking a horse, and it's not about training it. It's about, as humans, understanding it. How the horse training is actually our training of how can we understand how horses communicate with each other, with themselves, and with us. And how can we learn that language so that all of us can like work, so that the human and horse can work together in harmony. And I love this approach, and it's so beautiful because animals have an intelligence that we don't necessarily respect and or fully understand.
I loved a lot of the narration, the script for the narration. The narrator's voice was amazing and lovely. I actually looked her up because I was like, this is so great. But one of the lines I wrote was, "We've made instinct a prisoner of reason." That is so true. Just a high production value all the way around here. I loved a silent language of gestures, and, really the theme of let's be quiet and listen. And I think not just for horses, but I think that goes for humans and all, living beings. And the best part of communication is listening. We're a reflection of one another. There's just so much to take from this. Great music and use of music too, because I don't like it when there's just music to be music. I thought there was a moment when there was no music, and I just thought that was beautiful. I really loved how you had the interviews of these people describing why things were the way they were, like when we were in war periods, when they needed the horses to be tame really quick and do what they needed them to do. And it was a great comparison to women and how they were, being treated and stuff like that. So all of that was really well done. Just a beautifully written script. Another great line: by changing ourselves, we change everything around us. And a new world starts within.
I liked that they kind of started it with just like a story, and that's how they introduced the concepts and what you're gonna be like learning about and talking about. Because then it really, you get kind of swept up in the moment, and then you're, you know, a little bit like more open, more interested for the whole rest of the film. Because were kind of drawn in and sucked in by the story at the very beginning. Horses was such a great way to make a larger underlining point that they were trying to make at the very end, how everything is connected and how making connections and communicating not just with humans but like with other species and animals and things like that is all connected and all important. And we should be putting a higher level of importance on on a connection than our society currently kind of values those things. I think that's the point that they were trying to make, especially towards the end. But I think that using horses, which is such a good idea because horses are so prevalent across the world, how communication can transcend language and communication can transcend species even. And connection can transcend all of those things. So, using an animal that, is so global, I thought was great because you got to have all of these different connections and different perspectives across the globe, which I thought was amazing.
They did such a great job with the music, and I loved listening to all of the interviews and everybody's experience with horses and the information, just the information that they gave within the first 2 minutes of the film was amazing and invaluable about kind of the deer and how the horses see. I thought that that was great. I loved all of the artwork that they incorporated into this. There was a gentleman that was talking about how horses see, and he used this mask that he had created. And I thought that that was just absolutely ingenious. I thought that that was really cool. So I think this did a lot of justice to horses. It was very educational. Some of it was hard to listen to as far as how horses used to be broke back in the day. That was really sad. But now we have better ways of dealing with things.
The visuals are absolutely fantastic. I knew I was drawn in right at the beginning with the deer and the natural landscape. And just as the documentary unfolds, it's just very soothing and calming and really draws you in.